Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tommy the Techie, and today we are going to be giving a video tutorial on Git. So Git, what is it and why should you care? Git is a tool used for version control of software source code. Git tracks all the changes made to the files in the repository, and I'll explain what a repository is in just a moment. Typically, Git is used by developers to collaborate on the source code of their projects. And a key benefit to using Git is it allows for multiple developers to work on the same project simultaneously. And by distributing copies of the source code, they're each able to focus on a particular part of the project, and when ready, they can push the changes they made back to the master copy. So, how do all the contributors get the source code in the first place? The answer is repositories. And simply put, a repository is just a collection of the code and all the files that are associated with the project. In addition to the source code itself, a repository can include things like README files or other documentation, scripts, basically anything and everything you need to contribute to the project. Okay, so where do you get the source code? If you're not the original author of the code, how do you get a copy so you can begin collaborating? You need to get it from a code hosting platform. And by far the most popular of these is GitHub. But there are others that you can use, such as Bitbucket, Codebase, and AWS CodeCommit. These platforms give the owner the option to either keep their repository private, which would typically be used by for-profit companies who wish to keep their code private, or the owner can make the repository public. This is how open source projects are created. With a public repository, anyone who wants to can come along and fork their own copy of the code. And from that point on, they're free to do whatever they want with it. They can make their own independent project based off of your code, or they can make whatever changes they think make it better and create a pull request. That's when a forked repo requests to be reintegrated with the original. With a pull request, the owner of the original repo can approve or deny the request to add the modified code. If you simply cloned the repo and didn't fork your own copy, you can use the git push command to push your changes to the remote repo. And if the owner has added you to the contributors list, your code is added. You'll still need to authenticate when using git push. Now, we've talked about clones, we've talked about forks, but there's another way to get a copy of the repository, and that's branching. When you make a new branch, you're making an identical copy repo, essentially side by side with the master branch. Changes made in one branch are not copied over to any other branches unless they are intentionally merged. Think of branches like a set of twins. They can start out the same, but over time they can become quite different. And that's all the terminology I'll go over for now. Let's get started. So the prerequisites for this project are you need to have an existing GitHub account, which I have right here. And you need to have a basic understanding of the Linux command line. Okay, so the scenario. You are tasked with editing and changing code from your Level Up in Tech team repo. After making changes, the team would like to manually check the code before putting it into production. Objectives. Fork the Level Up in Tech repo here at the provided URL. Clone the forked repo to your cloud server environment. Using Vim, create a change to the linux.sh file that is in the repo directory. Save the file and add it to your local repo, then commit the file. Push the file back to your own GitHub repo, and then send a pull request to merge with the Level Up in Tech production repo. Okay, so we have our scenario, we have our objectives. I am SSH'd into a Ubuntu server that I have created, and I haven't done anything to this machine other than I ran the updates after I did the first login. Okay, so this demonstration is about Git. If you simply cloned the repo and didn't fork your own copy, you can use the git push command to push your changes to the remote repo. And if the owner has added you to the contributors list, your code is added. You'll still need to authenticate when using git push. Now, we've talked about clones, we've talked about forks, but there's another way to get a copy of the repository, and that's branching. When you make a new branch, you're making an identical copy repo, essentially side by side with the master branch. Changes made in one branch are not copied over to any other branches unless they are intentionally merged. Think of branches like a set of twins. They can start out the same, but over time they can become quite different. And that's all the terminology I'll go over for now. Let's get started. So the prerequisites for this project are you need to have an existing GitHub account, which I have right here. And you need to have a basic understanding of the Linux command line. Okay, so the scenario. You are tasked with editing and changing code from your Level Up in Tech team repo. After making changes, the team would like to manually check the code before putting it into production. Objectives. Fork the Level Up in Tech repo here at the provided URL. Clone the forked repo to your cloud server environment. Using Vim, create a change to the linux.sh file that is in the repo directory. Save the file and add it to your local repo, then commit the file. Push the file back to your own GitHub repo, and then send a pull request to merge with the Level Up in Tech production repo. Okay, so we have our scenario, we have our objectives. I am SSH'd into a Ubuntu server that I have created, and I haven't done anything to this machine other than I ran the updates after I did the first login. Okay, so this demonstration is about Git. Before we can do anything, we need to install Git. So let's get started. We're going to go to use sudo apt install git. I'm going to type in my password. Okay. Git is now installed. Let's check where it is, and it's in our user bin directory. Okay. Installing Git is not enough. We need to now configure it. So we are going to set some global configuration settings here, and all that means is that all the repos on this local machine are going to be configured to use this same information. So we're going to set the username and the user email. To do that, we're going to use git config, set that global parameter we were talking about. We're going to select the username, and I'm going to go ahead and put my name in here. Well, you know what? Let's make it the same as the username on my GitHub profile. So that's just Tom-Contillo. Okay. Now to do the email is going to be the same thing, except we're going to change name to email. But I am not going to give my actual email address in here. So this is going to be fake@fake.com. Okay. I'm also going to set the core editor, which is just the text editor that Git is going to use by default, and we are going to set that to be Vim. So git config, gonna set this globally as well, core.editor and Vim. Okay, let's take a look here at everything we have. So we are going to check this git config, this .git config file, and see if our changes have taken effect. So cat .git config, and you can see the name says Tom Puntillo. The email is fake@fake.com, and the core editor is Vim. Okay, so far so good. Okay, so we are going to make a directory to place this repo in. So make dir, and we're just going to call this project. Okay, so let's cd into project. Let's take a look. Oh, let's take and nothing. Just the current working directory and the parent directory. Okay, so we need to fork our own copy of the Level Up in Tech repo, which I already clicked on the URL before I started this video. Here it is. We need to fork our own copy and then clone it to our machine. So we're just going to click on this fork button over here to the right. And we get to name it. We're going to call this Git project, because we can call it whatever we want. And it is available. How nice. Okay. So you can see that this is the Level Up in Team repo from the Level Up in Tech account. Our forked copy is going to be I am the owner, and I'm changing the name to Git project. All right, so create fork, or create repository. So this will just take a second here. Okay, so this is our forked copy. You can see up here, we're in my account. The new repo is called Git project, and you can see where it's forked from. Okay. So, now that we have our own forked copy, how are we going to get it into our local machine? We're going to click on this drop-down, code, and we're going to clone it. You see we have a couple options here, but we are going to use the HTTPS. We're just going to copy that into our clipboard. And we are going to git clone and then provide that URL. Okay, so let's take a look now. Okay, so now we have Git project in here. Perfect. So let's cd into Git project. And let's take a look at what we have in here. Okay, so in here we have a .git directory. We have 2 README files, and we got a directory for badges and a linux.sh file. Now, if you remember, one of our objectives was to use Vim to make changes to the linux.sh file. So let's do that. Let's open it up and see what changes need to get made. Okay, let's see what this is first. Shebang. Okay, so this is going to say, please enter your name. and then it's going to read the name. So this is basically right here, you're just entering your name. Then it's going to say reading ... please wait ... some more. Then it's going to say your username is, and on top of the echo, it's going to use the who am I command to find out who you are. And it's going to tell you that it's one of the first Linux scripts. Please wait while we process the date. And then it's going to say made on, and it's going to also run the date command. The IP address is ... and here they're using the curl ifconfig.me. This is a website where you can curl it to get your public IP address. This is week 4, project test. Okay, so our objectives here don't say what the change needs to be, just says to make a change. Okay, so what are we going to change? Let's change this my IP address line. Seems to be the most, well, it doesn't have another command added onto it. So we'll put our cursor where we want it. I hit I. Well, here, let me do that again. So I'm going to hit the I key on my keyboard, and notice the insert popped up on the bottom. That means I'm now in insert mode. I can start putting whatever I want in here. So we're just going to say 1.2.3.4 because it can be whatever we want. And I'm going to go ahead, escape, right, quit. Okay, now let's take a look at that. And my IP address is 1234. Okay. Now, well, let's clear this. When I run the git status command, it is going to show us the status of the repository we have here. Okay, so it sees that the linux.sh was modified. Changes not staged for commit. That's because we haven't added it to the repo yet. Git just sees that it exists. So we are going to add it to the repo with the git add command. And we'll just specify the file. And we'll do git status again. Oh, if I spell it right. Okay. This went from red, untracked, to green, tracked. Okay. So, changes to be committed. Right now, it's just staged. So let's commit it to our repository. And you guessed it, it is git commit. We're going to use the tac m option to signify message, because Git forces you to state why you're making whatever commit. So we are going to say made changes to the linux.sh file. Okay. And it's telling us one file has been changed. It was an insertion. It also says that there was a deletion. Okay, so let's do a git status again. And we can see that now we have nothing to commit. Working tree is clean. Let's go ahead and clear this up. Okay, so if we look at the git log, you can see the changes that were made. And I just made the most recent one here. Get out of that by pressing Q. We'll clear that up again. Okay, so now we need to do a push. We need to push this back to the remote repository. So we're going to use git push. We talked about this command earlier. We're going to put the tag. Oh, I'm not even typing. Okay, git push. We're going to put the tac u option on there. We're going to say origin because this fork is the origin of the clone here. And we're going to put it on the master branch. Okay. It looks like we have got an error. All right. Let's see what Google has to say. Okay. Oh, I must have already searched for this. Okay. What does it mean? Yep, that's what I did. This error can occur for a ton of different reasons. The most likely reason this will occur is that the master branch does not exist. Perhaps you cloned a new repository and the default branch is main. Is that what happened here? Let's do git status again. Oh yeah. Okay. On branch main. Usually it's the default branch is master, but that's okay. All that means is we just have to change this from master to main. Username for github.com is my name. And my password for my account. And we are getting another error message. Okay, so this one says, please see this documentation here. But it also says authentication failed. It's like the same thing. Okay, that line above where I was just looking says support for password authentication was removed on August 13th, 2021. Now I wanted to highlight that. Now I was expecting this because I've tried this before and I came across this. So what does it mean for us? Password authentication was removed. So that just means we need another way to authenticate. And we're going to do that by making what is known as a personal access token. So I'm going to go to my settings here and scroll all the way down to the bottom. Oh, all the way down to the bottom of the options anyway, on the left-hand side, and click on developer settings. And here you'll see an option for personal access tokens. We're not going to use the beta, we're going to use the classic. Okay. It looks like I've got one here from, it expires next month. I got one here from earlier this week. Let's delete that because we're not using it. All right. We'll generate a new token. Okay. A little note as to why this is getting made. Level up. Goodness. Level up. Blue team. All right, because I'm on the blue team. We'll let it go with the standard 30-day expiration. If you scroll down this list, you will see a ton of different options. But since this is just a demonstration about how to push to the repo, we're only going to select repo here. You see it gives us full control of private repositories, access to commit status, deployment status, everything we need to do what we're trying to do right now. Going to generate that token. Okay. So, this token is only visible right now. As soon as I click away from this page, it is not going, it'll disappear. And I'd have to revoke it and make a new one. So we want to always keep these somewhere safe. I'm putting it in my clipboard, and I'm putting it somewhere safe off screen. Okay, now I have a personal access token. Let's go back here, and we are going to try to do this push again to the main branch. It's going to ask me my username again. I'm going to put it in. And right here, even though it's asking for the password, we know that they don't support that anymore, so we are going to use the personal access token that we just generated. Get that in my clipboard. Now, I pasted it in there. You can't see it, but it's in there. Okay. This looks like it was a success. Okay. Branch main set up to track remote branch main from origin. Okay, so let's go back over to our forked repo. So we'll go to my profile. Go to repos. Get project. And look, we can see right here, this branch is one commit ahead of Level Up in Tech main, where it was cloned from. We can also check on the changes we made. So let's click on linux.sh. It'll open it up, and down here you can see the change that we made. My IP address is 1234. Okay. Oh, we'll just hit the back tab. Okay, so we pushed it up to our local repository, or into our forked repository. All right, the last thing we need to do is to send a pull request. So pull request right here is not where we're going to select. That is if Albert had to review a pull request for someone trying to come into my stuff. Let's get back to the URL that we need. I'm just looking off screen for it. 1 second. Okay, here it is. I'll close these out. Okay, so here's the Level Up in Tech. Here's mine. Okay, so we are back on the original repo where we forked it from. We're going to click on pull requests. And right here, we're going to hit this new pull request button. Choose different branches. We're going to do the base main, just default. Choose 2 branches, see what's changed. Start the new pull request. Compare across forks. Pull request 124. View pull request. Oh no, this is not us. Okay. We're going to try this pull request from the top. New pull requests. Okay. Compare across forks. It's probably us. Level base main head repository. Sorry for the hard cut there. I kind of messed up what I was doing. All right, so we're still trying to do this pull request. Let's go ahead and create a new pull request. And we're going to compare across forks. Come on. Okay, the base repository is level up in tech. That's what we want. But we want ours to be the one that we've been working on. So now we're going to create the pull request. Oh, well, gotta leave a comment. Completing the Git project. Go blue team. That sounds about right. Okay, so we're going to create this pull request. Okay. Got no conflicts. Made the change. Okay, so we're number 357 to do this. Okay, so that pull request was a success. All right, we hit some bumps in the road, but we got there. All right, so that was your video demonstration on how to fork a repository, make your changes, push it back up to your own forked repository, and then create a pull request to bring it back to the original. Thank you for sitting through this entire video, and I hope you had as much fun as I did. Bye-bye. Hello, and welcome to the bonus material of the Git project recording. So we completed our base project, and now we have an optional objective, or objectives I should say, of creating a bash script that will add a user to our server. The things that this script should do is it should you should be prompted to input the user's name. The new user home directory should be added. We should add logic to our script to see if the user already exists. If so, output a message stating that the user already exists and do not execute the rest of the script. Verify the script works by running it on your cloud server and add some test users. Create a new repository in your GitHub for bash scripts, and push your bash script from your cloud server to your new GitHub repo. Okay, so those are our objectives. If you remember in the previous portion of this video, when we forked our own copy of this right here, and we made it this, and then we cloned it down to our machine, and we worked from there, and then we pushed it back up to here. And the way we were able to do that was because since we pulled it down from here, when we pushed it back up, it already knew where to go. That's not going to happen this time because we need to initialize a new repo in our machine that is going to be totally new, not cloned or forked from any other existing repository. And when we go to push it up, we're going to need a place to push it up to. So we're going to have to make our server aware of that place. Okay, so let's get started. All right, so you can see that I'm in the projects folder from yesterday. I'll do ls right here. You can see we have Git projects. So we are going to create a new repository in this project directory. So we are going to do a git init command, and we want to call this repository bash scripts. Okay, and you can see here it initialized an empty git repository, and it made it a subdirectory of this directory we're in. So let's go into the repository. Clear this up. Okay, so we were talking about pushing the code up once we create it to the remote repository in GitHub. So let's just see what this looks like here. When we do a git remote, we're going to do attack V to show us all of our repositories to push to, and you can see that that is empty. So we're going to need to add it. The way we're going to do that is, all right, let's go back to my profile here. Okay, and we'll go into repositories. And here we're going to click this big green button and make a new repository. The owner is going to be me. The repository name, let's make it the same thing, bash scripts. For the description, we'll just copy and paste the name. The name says it all. We'll automatically add a README file, and the rest we could just leave on default. So let's hit create repository. Okay, great. So it created this repository, and you see the initial commit is the creation of the README file. We're calling it bash scripts, and we're describing it as bash scripts. So the important part for us is this URL. So let's go back. So we're going to do another git remote command. But we're going to add this URL. I missed a part here though. We are going to add the remote repository, and it's going to be the origin. That's what we're going to call it. Okay, so let's do another git remote v, and now you can see this is pointing to our URL right here. So when we go to make a push, this is where it's going to end up. Let's clear this up. Let's do a git status just to see what branch we're on, and you can see that we're on branch master. Okay, fantastic. So the objectives were to create a script that will create a user's name and expect input from us. Okay, so we are going to Vim, or open up the Vim editor, and we'll just call this new user, since that's the objective. Okay, I'm going to go into insert mode by pressing I on my keyboard. The very first thing we're going to do is the shebang. So the shebang is standard when creating a bash script. Essentially, it's just telling the script that it's going to be written in bash. Then we'll put a comment and add a line just to give a little descriptor of what it is. So this is a script to add new users to the server. Okay, so I'm actually gonna save that as it is right now. Clear this up. Okay, so let's review how we're going to do this. So when we execute this script, it's going to need to prompt us for a name, who's trying to get, what name is trying to be added to the users list. Then it's going to need to check the list to see if that name already exists. And if it does, we're going to put an output message saying that it already exists. And if it doesn't, we're just going to go ahead and create it, and we're going to add the home directory of the new user. So I'm going to look into the Etsy scale directory. Now this is going to contain, oh no, it should be listing, not catting. This directory will hold all the directories for newly created users. So let's go ahead and make some. We'll do documents. Downloads. Desktop, all the standards here. But let's put one that is not standard, so when we go to check, we recognize it as ours and it'll be proof that it works. So we're going to call our directory, let's call it Batman. We all love Batman. Okay, so we're gonna list what's in that directory again. Interesting. Okay, so I didn't get the output I expected, so I'm looking in the Etsy directory, and yeah, we have a scale. Let's try that again. We'll start with just one. Make directory documents. Permission denied. Okay, we're going to do a sudo exclamation point, exclamation point. That's just going to put the sudo command on the previously attempted command. Or, yeah. So we'll try that. It should be asking for our password, and it is. Enter that. Now let's do a list and see what we're working with. Okay, so documents is there. We'll do the rest of them that we had mentioned. Downloads, we've already got documents, desktop, and of course Batman. Ah, goodness. We'll just throw that right in the front. Okay, and now you can see they're all there. It's in alphabetical order, so even though we put Batman in last, it got bumped up to the front. Okay, so let's go back to our home directory here. Clear this up. So, whenever we make a new user, those directories that we just created in the Etsy scale directory are going to be the directories that are in our new user's home directory. And I'll show you what all that means as we go along. Okay, so let's do a quick review of this. We have created the remote repository, and we have done the remote add command in our newly created local repository, so we know where to push it. And we created some blank directories or empty directories for our new users to have in their home directory when they get made. Okay, so the script is going to need to look for existing usernames. So where does it need to look? It needs to look in the Etsy. Oh, this is actually going to be a file, so we should cat it. Yeah. In the Etsy password. Oh my goodness. Okay, so all these are users in the system. So this is going to need to check this file, and if they're in this file, we're going to give them an output message. If they're not, we're going to create them. Okay. Well, actually, okay, new user. Okay, so we don't have too much in here, but you can see that Vim is already putting the color coding on here. Make things a little bit easier for us. Okay, so let's get started on this script. We're going to put ourselves in insert mode by hitting I on the keyboard. The very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set a variable. We're going to call it file, and it's going to equal that Etsy password file that we were just looking at. The next thing I'm going to do is start the output, right? So we need to prompt our user to give us some input. Okay, so we need to ask the user a question. So we're going to echo, and we're going to say, well, we're not going to ask it a question. We'll just tell it something. Oh. Please enter your name. Okay, what is next? Next, we are going to expect some input. So we're gonna tell the script to read whatever the input is, and we're gonna call it name, like setting a variable. Then again, we're going to say something to them, so we'll say thank you, and we'll call on the variable we just made, name. Go ahead and close out that quote. And we don't really need to do this, but why not? We'll just tell the user what's going on. Checking Etsy password for existing user with that name. Okay. And just so it looks like the computer's thinking while it's doing this, we'll do a bunch of dots. Okay, that's enough. Okay, so we've got the beginning part of it where we're prompting the user for the name, taking the input, making a variable out of that input. So now we need to use that variable and also the variable we set at the top for the Etsy password file and use logic to have the script. How do I put this? We're going to use logic to tell the script what to do in each scenario, whether this exists, this username exists already, or whether it does not. What are you going to do in each one of these circumstances? Okay, so that means we're going to do an if-then statement. So if this, then that, else do this. Okay, so if, so we need to tell it what we want it to do. We want it to concatenate, so cat, the file variable that we set earlier, and we are going to pipe that into a grep command to search for the name variable that we set earlier. And then this semicolon is going to delimitate the portions of if to then. So then we're going to put in then, just like I was saying. And you can see when I went down to the next line, it indented. That is just a standard practice for if-then statements. So if the user exists, then we're going to say, sorry, but that username is already taken. Oh, goodness. Okay. And then we're going to do else. So if it doesn't exist, what are we going to do? And we are going to do the user add command. And we're going to do tac-m on that. So I forget what the tac-m stands for, but what it's going to do is going to create the user and their home directory. And then we're going to tell it the name. Okay. And we'll give our new user, oh, let's spell that right, a little welcome aboard. Oh. Okay. If commands need to be closed with FI for finished. Okay, and that's it. That's our script. So we're gonna hit escape to get back into command mode, right, quit. Okay. So let's try this out. Let's clear this up. Okay, so we can see that the new user is already, or the file is in our current working directory. It's owned by Cloud User, both the user and the group, and that's who we are, so we should have no problem running it. So let's try it. So we'll call on our local directory. We'll call on the script. Oh, permission denied. Okay, so let's try sudo. And it's still not found. So I want to bring your attention up to this. These are the permissions. We don't have execute set for any of these permission statements. So this is a not executable script. So right now it's not doing much good. So we'll do a sudo chmod. And we're going to do a 755. That's going to allow the owner to have full permissions, and the group and everyone else will be able to write and execute. All right, so we need to also call on what file we're changing. Okay, so we'll do another LL, and now you can see that this has changed to green. That all that's doing is indicating that that is now an executable file. So we're going to call out in again. And now you see, since it's executable, I was able to do the tab finish. Hello, please enter your name. My name's Tommy, so we're going to enter that. Thank you, Tom. Oh, well, hold on. Okay, so up to here is what we made. Let's clear this up. And we'll go back into our script here. Okay, so we got up to here, all good. So it was our if-then statement that got things all screwy. If, read this file, and if this name. Oh, okay. I already see what I forgot to do. When we were doing the grep, I forgot. Oh, goodness, I passed it. I forgot to set the Q option. So I'm going into insert mode, tac Q for quiet mode. So really that's just going to, it's still going to process the command, but quiet just means it's not going to show us the output. So let's go ahead and save this. And we'll try this again. Please enter your name. So we just did mine. We'll go with Brad. Thank you, Brad. Checking to see if password, checking Etsy password for existing user with that name. Sorry, but that username is already taken. Well, that's not what we are expecting to see. So let's go back into Vim and find out why. Okay. So that name should not have been taken. Well, oh, hold on. I'm going to run that same command, just not in the script. But we're not going to do the quiet portion of it. And we're going to be looking for Brad. Yeah, so that name does not exist. Yeah. Okay, so something is wrong in our script. Let's discover what that is. Okay. So this is saying that if, when we look in this file, I'm going to search for the input name, and if it's there, then we're going to say, sorry, but that username already exists. And if it's not, we're going to else user add the name. I am not seeing where I'm going wrong. So, that being the case, I am going to take a little break, step away for a minute, and recharge. I will be back momentarily. Okay, so I took a little bit of a break, came back, looked at things, and I spotted my errors. Let's take a look. So we'll go back into the file here. Okay, you see my cursor is right where I was checking things. So we're going to go back into insert mode. Okay, the first mistake I made was right here. When we're calling on this name variable, capitalization matters. So I had it all capitalized for whatever reason, and you can see all throughout the rest of the script that is not the case. It was all lowercase. And also we'll put a space between the semicolon and the word then. Okay, so we're going to write quit again. Okay, so let's try this again. We're going to run the new user script. Hello, please enter your name. My name is Tommy. Thank you, Tommy. Checking the Etsy password for existing users with that name. Permission denied. User cannot lock. But it does say welcome, Tommy. So it did make it to the last line of the script. So we just need to, we got permission denied. So we're going to put sudo in front of it with the sudo, then 2 exclamation points. And it's asking for our password now. Enter my name. And this is what we were looking for. Checking this file, ... because it's thinking, welcome Tommy. So let's get back to my cloud user home directory, and we'll go up a level to home. And look, here is that new user, Tommy. And let's see if those directories that we made in the etc are here too. And look at that, Batman desktop documents downloads. So we know our script is working. At least we know that it's working to create a new user. So let's go back into that repository. We'll call on it again, and we'll try, actually I'm going to cancel this. We're going to do sudo. Okay, so we're going to try to enter that name again. Sorry, but that name is already taken. Okay, great. So let's try this a few more times with a few more users. Enter your name. We'll go Melvin. That's my cat's name. Thank you, Melvin. And then welcome. And we'll do one more time. We'll do Jody. That's my girlfriend's name. And she is here now too. So just one more time to show that... Oh, yeah, of course not. Just one more time, adding another name that already exists. We'll put Jody's name in there again. And we could see that it is letting us know that this is already taken. Okay, great. So we'll clear this up. We'll go back into our home directory. We'll go up a level into home. And now we could see all these users that we created. Jody, Melvin, and myself. Okay. And we'll cd into Melvin to see if... Oh, no, my goodness. Okay, let's get back to our home directory. See, home, Melvin, and we can see we have all of these directories that we had specified in the etc. Okay, great. So we'll go back to the home directory. So let's go back to our objectives, see what else we have to do. Okay, so we created a script that is prompting us for information for a username. We added some logic that determines if the user already exists. If they don't exist, they're getting created with a home directory. If they do exist, they're getting an output message saying they already exist. So now we need to add all of this to our GitHub repository that we have right here. Okay, so let's do a git status, see where we're at. Not a git repository. Oh, you know what? Because I'm not in it. That's why. Okay, now we'll do a git status. And we can see that the new user file is created, but it is untracked. Okay, so that file is recognized, but not being tracked by Git. So just like in the previous portion of this video, we're going to do a git add. And then we're going to specify the file. Do git status again. And then now you can see that it's in the staging area. The color went from red to green, but we still haven't committed it yet. No commits. And we're on the master branch. Okay, so let's make a commit. Git commit. Do tac m to leave a message. Created new user script. Okay, so we can see that one file change, there's 18 insertions. So I know we only did one file, but there was 18 lines of code in that file. That's what these insertions are. Okay, so let's do another git status. And you can see we have a clean working tree. Nothing left to commit. We'll do a git log. And you can see that we made a commit. And the author was me. And we're using the fake@fake.com for the email address. And here is our commit message. Okay, great. So now we've got this committed to our local repository. We still need to get it pushed up here. So we're going to run the same commands that we ran at the end of our last video. We're going to do a git push. I'm going to do TechU because we're pushing it up. And we are going to do the origin, because remember that's what we named our remote repository. And we are on the master branch. So, username for GitHub, tom.puntillo. And the password. So remember, for the password, we needed to use the personal access token, which I have saved right here. Oh, hold on one moment. I have it saved off screen. Put that in my clipboard. Okay. So, create pull request from master GitHub visiting. This looks like it was a success. We'll clear this up. So, oh, this is ours. We'll close this one. Okay. So, master had recent pushes less than a minute ago, so it could see what it is. And it can see, oh wait, no, that's just the description. Let's go ahead and refresh this. And for some reason, I am not seeing it here. Well, we're not comparing across forks. Huh. Okay, so we have active branches here, more than one. Branches one commit ahead, one commit behind main. Well, I'm not exactly sure how we're behind, but you can see that we have this new content in here. Create a new user script. And we have it in our code tab. And when you click on that, you can see the code that we wrote in our local repository. Okay, so it took a little while, but that is the basics of how you create a local repository and grab the URL, create a remote repository in GitHub, grab that URL, input it into your local repository as the remote repository, and then you're able to write a script and use a git push command to put it up to GitHub. So since this is a public profile, anybody who wants to can come and take this script now. Thank you for staying all the way till the end of this video, and I hope you had as much fun as I did.